Paul, you got audio?
I do.
Nick, you got audio?
Yes, thank you.
Robert?
Yes. Hey, guys.
Let's see if mine. Oh, see, I got the.
Are you, so I show you're in twice.
I had to set her up here. See, I had set her up just in case.
All right. But I mean, I think I would shut one of those down. You think that's what's causing the echo?
Only if her, yeah, it's
Okay, so
your volume completely off and mute your mic.
Robert, how are you with the share? Good? You want to just do a test run on that?
Yeah, let's do a test run. I think I mastered it, but yeah, let's see if I can just get
Mayor, I love your background there.
Thank you. My other favorite is the palm trees. Good night.
You wanted to see the other people that are participating.
Yes, I
At the bottom of the screen.
Yep, you got it.
see the rendering.
Looks good.
Perfect.
Oh,
Are they able to see the room, Greg, or just the screen?
No, they're gonna see this. They should be seeing this right now.
Or when there's nothing posted, they see this room, or just each other? Are we on TV in the back, I guess?
You have it on.
are we
You
doing
have
the
to
video
just-
of this, or we're recording? We're recording the Zoom,
Yeah, it is on record.
like the ceiling camera or the Zoom?
Ceiling camera's
Or both?
right there. You have to do a share or your options.
Robert, I'm going to, you want to close that share down? I just want to put the courtroom background on.
Sure.
Okay. And you
And then
Well,
we'll
make
go to
sure you're-
participants.
say more. Are you recording? No, I'll pick up back up to there. A little more. No, you are recording right now. Okay. So that's recording directly into the computer. This way we can play it back for Sonia or anyone else if we want to make the copy.
Yep.
So you have every view now. Just need to share what you need to share.
We got everybody on. Robert, Nick, Jeff, Paul. Okay, here we go.
Is Scott coming?
I don't know.
I hope he is. Is he on?
No, ma'am.
No.
We've got all the presenters on?
We got quite a few people on too.
So should we get started?
Sure.
So just by way of some background for everyone, I see that there's 21 people that have logged into the meeting. If you happen to be dialed in, you can raise your hand by doing a *9. And if you're first time on Zoom, if you go to either the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen, it'll open up a drop-down box, and you have the ability to raise your hand if you have a question. Our plan for this evening is the mayor's going to do an introduction, and then we've got Paul Phillips, who's our planner for both the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment. He's going to give an overview on how we got to this point, some of the history, and we've got the developer and the developer's attorney, Robert Indig, and he's the developer, and Nick Graciopi is the attorney for the developer. They're going to give, some overview on the presentation as well. And after we go through that, I believe we're going to open it up for the, anyone that has any questions. And I will pick on the person, I'll mention your name, and then I'll unmute you to give you the ability to ask your question, and then, we can answer it and then move on. If, we have a fairly decent attendance. I see we're up to 27 people. So if there's a number of people, we may need to limit the amount of time, but, we have a fair amount of time to work with here, but just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to ask a question, in the event we have a significant number of people that are logging in and have questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Wilson, our mayor, just to give an introduction and kind of get things started.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Slate. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Our purpose this evening is to talk about the marketplace, which is the portion of the old Colgate Menin site that runs along West Hanover between the Menin Arena and MLK Avenue. Tonight's meeting is informal. It's not part of the official legal process that New Jersey state statute requires. And part of our reason for wanting to do that is that it gives us more time, more flexibility for answering questions and having a sort of back and forth, give and take. The purpose tonight is we want everyone to understand what's going on with this site. That would include a little bit of what's brought us to this point, a little bit of the past, where we're at right now, what's going on with the site right now, and what you can expect going forward. So we hope that as a result of tonight's meeting, everyone is informed about what's going on. And we also want you to feel invited and encouraged to participate in the process going forward. So with that, and if you have seen the letter, the agenda, as Mr. Slate explained, is on the letter. So we'll start with a brief update of the existing redevelopment plan that's on the table that was passed back in 2017. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Phillips, our planner, to take over from there, if you would, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me briefly first provide some historical context. As the mayor indicated, the property that we're going to be discussing this evening is part of what was once the Colgate-Palmolive manufacturing and distribution facility. As many of you may be aware, Colgate shut down its facility at the end of 2016. And at the same time, the township proceeded to declare the Colgate property as an area in need of redevelopment. Shortly thereafter, in 2017, the township adopted a redevelopment plan for the property, which essentially divided it into two from a future development standpoint. The front portion was designated for commercial development, and that would be the portion basically closest to and fronting on Hanover Avenue. And the rear portion was designated for residential development, which was to include affordable housing units, a certain percentage of affordable housing units, which were intended to assist the township in meeting its fair share housing obligation. As you also may be aware, the residential portion of the site is well into its construction. However, no development has taken place yet on the commercial portion, notwithstanding the fact that there was a site plan approval obtained from the Township Planning Board back in, I believe, 2018, to move forward with that aspect of the overall project. So that's been roughly 2 years since that approval. And I think there are a number of reasons that the approval has not proceeded on the commercial portion of the property, not the least of which relates to the challenges that exist today in the retail marketplace, given the advent not only of e-commerce, but that obviously has been exacerbated by COVID-19. But what I want to point out is, notwithstanding the current situation, there is indeed an approved site plan that exists today, and the property owner could initiate construction based on that site plan tomorrow morning, theoretically. So in recognition of the fact that, or recognition of the current state of retail, over, I'd say, the last several months, the property owner developer has been working with the administration and the township professionals to potentially affect some changes to the redevelopment plan that would form the basis for an amended site plan application to the planning board. Now, you're going to hear from the owner directly on this very shortly. However, what I can say is that the changes that are being considered would put the developer in a more favorable position to respond to the changing retail environment, and particularly in terms of potential and prospective tenant mix, while at the same time it would provide for additional improvements and amenities on the site relative to the approved site plan that would certainly make the project more pedestrian friendly and walkable and more of a destination generally. So Mayor, at this point, with that introduction, I think I will turn the presentation over to Robert from the redeveloper's perspective to discuss the current proposal.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Robert. Tell us what you've got planned.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Phillips. I appreciate the intro. And I would like to thank the mayor, deputy mayor, committeemen, township residents, and township professionals for taking time tonight. I'm sure everybody has better things to do. And we greatly appreciate everybody's input on this and everybody taking the time to join us tonight. Just going through this plan a little bit, as Mr. Phillips kind of touched on. Jim, do I share my screen now for the site plan?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So I'm just going to bring up the proposed site plan. So here along the entire front is the commercial portion of the former Colgate headquarters, which we are in the process of redeveloping. And kind of as Mr. Phillips said, the retail landscape is challenging, and that challenge was only exacerbated by COVID-19. So when we took a look at this site initially, we had a very different vision for what we wanted to create here versus the plan that was approved in 2018. So the plan that was approved in 2018 was a pretty basic, I would call it even a cookie cutter retail center that kind of you can drive anywhere and see. When we took a look at this site and we looked at the underlying fundamentals, we saw that we can create something extraordinary over here, something that would be a destination for people to want to come here versus just catering to passerby and traffic that will pop in and do their thing and continue. To that end, I must credit the township, the mayor, and the deputy mayor for their vision in this project as well. They absolutely shared our vision, and the comments that they had and the input in creating the plan that you see in front of you today has been honestly invaluable. And we as developers are very excited with the end product. Just to touch on a couple of the changes that Mr. Phillips had mentioned, such as walkability, such as walkability, such as being a destination. So when you take a look at the site plan in front of you, you'll notice, even though it's kind of small, I don't know if everybody could see my my cursor, my pointer over there. we created a walkable path that links this entire site. So all along here on the side, along Martin Luther King and along the Hanover frontage, you'll see that there is pedestrian access sidewalks along the entire frontage and sides. That ties in directly across the entire center and picks up the walking trails in the back from the Lennar subdivision. So this is somewhere where you can literally come, park your car at any end of the center that you want and just enjoy your walk across the center. It's not this great big mass of concrete and asphalt. It's a beautiful walkable center. And, you know, as a deputy mayor can certainly attest, what we created this, I would call it a pocket park along the rear over here, which is not only for the shoppers, but also for the residents of the entire township that just want to come here and relax. That's this area right back here, which was formerly 34 parking spots. So you have a nice walking trail, which links the entire center. You have a performance stage in the back there. You have a walkable trail, seating, shade areas, shade trees, all along the rear. And we created that in more than one spot. We created it along the rear over here, but also to the left of commercial E4, you'll see a beautiful plaza-like area right over there. As you can see, it links in really nicely as a walking trail in the middle with shade, trees, seating, a fountain, all sorts of amenities that will cater to, again, not only the shopper that's coming to the center, but also to the township residents overall. Some of the nitty-gritty changes that we made is we added some drive-throughs across the center, which were previously for other uses that kind of are obsolete today. For example, commercial A was a pharmacy, and I think everybody can probably attest to the fact that there's more than enough pharmacies. You drive down any stretch of highway in New Jersey for 3, 4, 5 miles, the odds are you'll hit a pharmacy. So we actually shrunk that building down and created a smaller building with utilizing that same drive-through, which will be for a restaurant and you know, looking at the rest, some of the other changes that we had proposed over here between commercial B and commercial C, you'll see that beautiful plaza over there in the middle that links the two. That was never there, and those buildings were just one big pad that was actually rotated the wrong way. It was a long, narrow building, which we probably would have never been able to lease. So some of the changes that we made were directly in response to the market feedback that we were getting from our tenants, but also with the desire to create something extremely unique, which is something that the Township of Morris honestly deserves. I don't know if anybody wants me to speak in greater detail about any of the specifics, or if I should just pull up the former site plan, the one that was approved, so I can contrast it so everybody can see exactly the changes that were made. But that is, in a nutshell, what we're doing over here.
I think contrasting it to the previous plan would be good. And then if you can add any further detail to the types of businesses that may be coming.
Sure. So in front of you, you'll see the old approved site plan. So as you can see, there is the pharmacy at the corner over here. There's this retail building B, which I had just mentioned was just designed wrong. It's just a long building, which nobody would have been able to lease. This is a drive-through restaurant. This was another commercial building, which either does or doesn't have a drive-through. It's not entirely clear. Another building, a large building, a box, an office building, and a bank. So when you look at this plan, what you see over here is just a sea of parking. There's no walkability across the entire site. There's nothing linking one side to the other side. You would have to, if you were to park over here because you wanted to go to whichever retail establishment was going to be here, and you wanted to go to the pharmacy, you would have to get in your car, drive, and leave, versus what we had created over here. And let's say if you're a resident in the township and you just want somewhere to hang out on the weekend or on a holiday, there would be no reason why you would want to come to the center unless you were visiting a business here. However, with what we created a destination that the township residents would want to come to regardless of if they're in need of picking up lunch or not, by creating the public plazas, by creating the pocket park, and by creating the walkability across the entire site, which in turn will obviously benefit the businesses that will be located there. But it's just our vision of creating the next gen center to draw people in. And this kind of leads into what the mayor was saying with regards to the establishments that we want to create here. When we started looking at this, we had no idea that COVID would hit, obviously. At that point, one of our greatest threats was Amazon, and obviously the retail kind of migrating online. So we wanted to create something here that will actually get people to come to the center. And by doing that, we were looking away from the traditional, I would call them dry goods retail uses, and what we've created, and I'll just switch back to the current plan that we did. What we've created over here is we have a mix of businesses that we believe are internet proof, and not only internet proof, but will get people to come to the center. So for example, I'll just run through the site. So this over here, Commercial H, that was the former 2-story office building. I don't think anybody needs another office building in Morris Township. That is going to be a Lidl grocery store, which is a German brand. They have over 10,000 stores across Europe, and they're a best-in-class operator that will offer township residents and shoppers alike something that's just not available anywhere else. So that will draw in customers to here. And in this box, in Commercial G, it's actually split up into a couple of different tenants. But one of the tenants that we have committed to here is called Aquatots Swim School. It's an extremely high-end swim school, but it's more than just your traditional swim school. They also give safety lessons, and they teach the children about sea safety and sea life, and it's actually a beautiful concept. There's only about 3 of them in North America right now, the closest one being in Horsham, Pennsylvania. I actually took a drive down there. It's about 2 hours from my office just to see the concept before we started lease negotiations with them. And it is mind-blowing. I mean, it's beautiful what they've done, the entire interior with glass, and the way they integrate the pool and the classrooms. All the classrooms are wide open overlooking the pool. Feels like you almost walked into a resort. And that is something that you just don't have anywhere else. It's not something that you could just drive down the road and you go to the next one, or you drive a few miles. And that's something that will get people to come into the center. Another one of our uses that we have here in Commercial E4, that is Orange Theory Fitness and their sister concept called Icebox Cryotherapy. So it's another one of those categories that you just can't exercise online. I mean, trust me, I've tried it. It doesn't work. You got to get out. You got to come down there, go to a yoga studio, and do your thing. The cryotherapy as well. It's I'm not a cryotherapy guy, but the technology behind it is amazing. It's basically some sort of like cryo tube you go into that's about 250 degrees below zero, and the healing powers that it has and the therapy that it provides, I mean, people swear by it. So again, it's an extremely high-end concept. The machinery alone costs about $500,000 per machine. So this is not something that you're going to have in every other center in, in town, or within I would say even a 20-mile radius. With the creation of the plaza over here, now now that we're, you know, in COVID and nobody knows when gyms are going to open or indoor dining and stuff like that, that allows our tenants the flexibility. I had just actually got off the phone earlier today with the operator of the Orange Theory, and he said, when he took a look at the new plan, he said, I love it, because everywhere else, I mean, we're trying to do classes outside and we're putting up tents in a parking lot and trying to do some covered areas. It's just not working. If you can do yoga in a park, I mean, it sounds like a resort. It's something that the people will love, the operators will love, and it gets people to come to the center. So that was our vision for the center, and in order to create it, it, you know, necessitated some underlying changes to the redevelopment plan, but that's our vision for the center. And just to, you know, continue going through the rest of the site, commercial D is going to be a freestanding Panera Bread with a drive-through. Commercial C, we have interest from Jersey Mike's is going to take the end cap along the plaza area over here. We're going to do a juice concept over here, as well as Tropical Smoothie Cafe. We have a high-end mattress store called Sleep Number. They're probably going to relocate from Short Hills Mall. So they're paying who knows what in Short Hills Mall. And they're saying that, you know, we're not seeing the return on our investment. We want to get into the neighborhoods. We want to get into the areas where we have actual residents versus being in a mall. And they're going to be taking up about 4,000 or 5,000 square feet here. In commercial A, we have Wells Fargo Bank on that end without a drive-through, and we have the Panda Express with a drive-through on this end cap. That is basically everything.
So you do still have some spots that are vacant and awaiting tenants, correct?
So right now, between LOIs and LOIs that are being converted to leases, we're about 70% leased. So my partners actually yell at me all day. They think that we're leasing this thing a little too quickly. Typically, the way it works is you'd want to have your anchor tenant, which is in this case our grocer, inside, and maybe a couple of other tenants to get it to about 35 to 45% leased. Then you would start construction, and as construction goes along and the tenants and the people can come and see it and touch it and feel it, it generates a lot more interest, and that in turn would generate a lot higher rents on our end. But that would be how a typical development goes. But since the response to this has been overwhelming, and, you know, especially honestly, we were quite surprised that even during COVID and, you know, the period after right now we're going through, the interest remains extremely, extremely strong. And we're about 70% leased.
Okay. And a couple other questions. The document you showed before this, that was the prior redevelopment plan or the prior site plan?
I'll just, sorry, I'm having just, that was the prior site plan. That was the approved site plan. And I wish I could get this control bar up. There it is. So this was this is the approved site plan that Mr. Phillips had alluded to. If we wanted to pull building permits and start construction on this tomorrow, we could. I mean, if you take a look at this, really the only thing that we didn't change was this building right here, commercial building F. That stayed the same. And G is mostly the same. We did shrink it down a little bit because we don't like to have these big boxes, you know, on site, which you see throughout. But everything else sort of changed, and we believe it only changed for the good. I mean, again, these 34 parking spots you're looking at right here behind E to the right of F, and that became a beautiful park thanks to the deputy mayor's vision of the center. You know, all this parking that you have here, we created plazas, we created walkability, we created by reorienting some of these buildings, like this building, we created the opportunity for more tenants to lease it versus something like this, honestly, would be really hard to lease.
Okay, so this is the existing plan that is on the table and that was approved by the planning board in 2018, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and so fast forward to now, some changes have been made based on the suggestions that have been talked about, and we're happy with having added the destination aspect, the pedestrian, the walkability. Those things are all very good. And that then gets into the next steps, which are, we have the existing site plan on the table, but this is a redevelopment situation. So in order to amend what's on the table right now, we have to amend the redevelopment plan. Do you want to take over from here, Mr. Phillips, and explain the process going forward, how the existing site plan gets amended, what the next steps are?
Yeah, so if the township committee mayor decides that it wants to proceed with a series of amendments to the redevelopment plan, which has been presented to you this evening, the next step would be for me as the township planner to draft amendments to the redevelopment plan. There would be a series of amendments that would be required, and that would include expanding the list of permitted uses in order to address the issue of the additional tenants and to allow for a larger tenant mix in the center. At the same time, we would include in the redevelopment plan the principles as well as the standards for the additional green space, the pocket park that Robert described, the additional outdoor plaza spaces on the conceptual site plan that was presented this evening. That would have to be basically articulated in the plan itself, as well as with regard to the issue of walkability, the requirement that basically that there be a walking path throughout the center with connections at either end that would link with the residential behind it. Other than a few other tweaks in the redevelopment plan, those would be the major things that would be put into the redevelopment plan. The other thing that we are likely to do, Mayor, is, as I recall, the original plan showed at the time what was an illustrative concept plan for the property. And we would probably include the rendered concept that Robert presented this evening in the plan as being illustrative. They wouldn't be sort of held to every square inch of it in terms of when they did a detailed site plan, but that would be a basis and a framework for the planning board, coupled with the redevelopment plan changes, to review any future site plan that would be in accordance with the amended redevelopment plan, again, should the township committee wish to pursue that.
Right,
And that site plan, if there was an amended redevelopment plan, the next step, Mayor, would be that the developer would prepare a detailed site plan for the commercial portion of the site and then proceed to the planning board for what would amount to an amended site plan approval.
right. And for the benefit of the public, the redevelopment plan is, I sort of think of it as almost like the 30,000 foot. It's this sort of overview, whereas the site plan, which is done by the planning board, gets into all the details. Correct?
That is correct. The redevelopment plan does go sort of beyond conventional zoning in terms of how elaborate it is, but it doesn't deal with every issue that has to be addressed during the site plan. It would be impossible to include everything that anyone can think of would go into that redevelopment plan. Basically, would leave a lot of the details to the planning board during the site plan approval process.
And also, as far as the tenants that end up being in the mall or in the plaza, the township has, we have no authority to, that's strictly the developer's decision. Is that correct?
Yeah, what the redevelopment plan does and will do here is it will continue to list the types of permitted uses that are allowed on this site. And we would have to add some of the uses that Robert talked about, such as the wellness services and the instructional schools and studios. That would have to be added. That's not in the plan today. There is in the plan today a limit on the number of drive-through establishments. And we can continue to limit the number of establishments, but we can't basically say someone or another can be the only tenant. We can't go that far. So ultimately, within the guidelines of the redevelopment plan, the redeveloper will be able to bring in tenants that fit that permitted use language.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Is Mr. Grazel here?
Yes, I am. If I
Would you
could
like-
make a couple comments, I would like
Sure.
to. Very good. So thank you, everybody, for attending. Welcome to everybody who's out there. I know we have several new residents who are in the Colgate
We're kind of losing your audio, Jeff.
Losing your connection, Grazel.
Residents of Morris Township, and welcome to everybody in Collinsville. I want to
Hey, Jeff, your audio, I don't know if you're picking me up, your audio is
well, I'd
breaking
like
up.
to get to Woodland. Can you hear me?
No.
We can't hear you.
You may want to dial back in. It seems when we have bad audio, sometimes you just happen to have a bad connection, and if you
Yeah, now I'm back. So
if you disconnect and dial back in, that tends to help the audio.
So while he's doing that, I'm assuming he is doing that. Let's just talk in a little more detail about the steps going forward. We have the basics of what Robert just described for everybody, and after tonight's meeting, our next meeting is the Township Committee meeting, at which time we anticipate introducing the revised redevelopment plan. And the way that works is it's introduced at the first meeting, and then at the next meeting, there's a public hearing and probably a vote at that meeting, depending how much time we need. And then, assuming that goes through, the redevelopment plan would be in place, and then the next step after that is that the sort of general plan itself would go to the planning board, and Robert would come before the planning board with a more detailed site plan, which would get into all the different aspects of the plan in detail. And so those are sort of the basic steps going forward. And I encourage everyone from the public, especially people who live nearby and have a special interest in this site, I encourage you to attend the meetings and participate. So, and tonight is informal, so we do have the opportunity for questions and answers from the public. And are you
Can
back, Jeff?
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Yes.
Very good. That's great. So I don't know if everybody heard, but I wanted to welcome all the residents who are on the call, in particular the new residents at the residential portion of the Colgate facility. Welcome to Morris Township. You're going to love living here. We have a great community, and I look forward to meeting you one day. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very good. So just to back up a little bit, I wanted to make clear that we have a township committee of 5 people, and there's an election every year. Somebody's up for election every year in Morris Township. There are 2 seats up for election this year. So just to be clear, back in 2017, when this project was approved, the members of that committee are no longer on the township committee now. We have 1 remaining member from 2017 who's still on the committee, and we really have a brand new committee that came in last year, and we've been working really hard on a couple initiatives, this one being one of them. And in general, I like to come to win-win solutions, and I believe we have one here. I think it's win-win-win in that it's a win for the developer, it's a win for the municipality in putting in a mall that I think has longevity and will be a destination. It's very unique, and I think it will have staying power, and that's really important for Morris Township. And importantly, it's a win for the residents, because you saw the initial plan that was approved in 2017 when the developer came and asked us to convert the drive-through for the bank and the drive-through for the pharmacy into drive-through restaurants. We had concerns about bringing more traffic to the development to the mall that might have otherwise been coming there. And we also had issues with all those cars circulating, that it had to be walkable for our residents. It had to be a place where pedestrians could circulate very comfortably and very safely. And to Robert's credit, the developer, he worked with us every step of the way. We had, quite frankly, we made some demands of the developer about some open spaces in the plaza. And at every turn, Robert said, yes, yes, great vision. We're bought in. We want a beautiful development, just like you want a beautiful development. And Robert has worked with us, to his credit, each and every step of the way. You saw what's now come forward. So previously we had just lots of buildings and lots of drive aisles. But what we've done is replaced 2 of the drive aisles and all those parking spaces with pedestrian plazas that Robert showed you are going to have fountains and tables and trees. And Robert also is the one who proposed himself. He proposed the pocket park in the back of the development. So kudos to the developer for proposing that. We came up with the idea of actually putting in a small performance stage and hoping that it would actually draw residents that could go there, walk there, stay there for a few hours. Hopefully we'll put on some, musical performances or magic shows for kids or things like that. But we really wanted it to be a destination for our residents to go, since Morris Township doesn't really have its own downtown area. We use Morristown as our downtown, but we don't really have a destination of our own. So we were looking for a place for our residents to be able to go and congregate and enjoy themselves for a few hours, not just drive there, pick something up and leave. And I think we got that. And as we get to the planning board stage where we do the site plan review, I think you'll see all the details of what we've negotiated over the last month. And I hope everybody will be happy about what we were handed from 2017 in that initial plan from the prior township committee to the beautiful plan that we have today that the developer has worked very hard with us to get to. I really do think it's win-win-win. And I thank everybody who's been involved, and I look forward to seeing it one day and have the public there and having a beautiful space for Morris Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on the panel who'd like to add anything?
Mayor, it's Nick. I just want to say one thing quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Nick Rassiopi. I'm an attorney who represents the developer, but more importantly, I'm a Morris Township resident. And I just wanted to say that I'm really proud, first, to be part of the project, but also to be part of this maiden, really, which is a maiden public participation informational event, which I think is great, as well as this collaborative effort between the developer, who was challenged on many fronts by the new council, and the council, who did the challenging. And in what we have as a result is, I think, the class shopping center of the whole area. I'm not talking just Morris Township. I'm talking everything on Hanover. This by far exceeds anything you see on Hanover Avenue, and it's because of that collaborative, communicative effort between both the developer and the council.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
agree. And I'm very happy to see the kind of informal meeting we're having tonight, which, to my knowledge, I have not seen before. And it does give us more flexibility to share ideas with each other, with the public this evening. So
Mayor,
thank you for that.
Mayor, if I could add
Yes.
a word, to
Sure.
just tag on to what Nick Graciopi said. And I should have introduced myself in the very beginning. My name is Jeff Grazel, and I am the Deputy Mayor of Morris Township. And just to tag on with what Nick was saying, when we first met with the developer back in December, one of the things we said is we wanted this to be something that's special, not just for the area, but in all of New Jersey. We want a mall that people are going to point to and say, wow, we want to do something like that too. And we wanted an A1 development, and I think that's what we got. And I also, if I could, also give a shout out. I know Committeeman Mark Giorfi is not on the call tonight because we can only have 2 committee people in order to make it a non-public meeting. You're only allowed to have 2. It's a little technicality, but Committeeman Giorfi was very instrumental in coming up with some of the ideas for this. And for those residents who haven't met Mark Giorfi, I look forward to the day that you can. He's a great guy with a great vision and a real asset to the Township Committee.
Thank you. Agreed. Is there anyone else on the panel who would like to say anything before we open it up for questions from the public? Okay. With that, I hope people understand how to raise your hand.
Yeah, so I see that 2 hands are raised, and there's also a number of written questions, but I'm going to start with the people that have raised their hands. There's a Roseanne Donahue, and I'm going to just unmute you so you can ask your question. You may be muted on your end. I do see that the mute is still up, Roseanne. Okay, you should be able to ask your question now.
Yeah.
Roseanne, can you tell us where you live?
Yes, I live in the townhouses now on Gerhardt Place in the collection in Morristown.
Yeah,
I love it.
Welcome.
I love it. I'm very concerned about what's going on with the property and for resale value, obviously, and just for my own enjoyment. So I really like the revised plan. I wasn't really kept well up to date on what was going in there, so I think it looks much nicer. I was asking about the tenants, and I think we've covered that, so I was premature in my raising of the hand. But in general, when do you think this might start? I mean, I know we have to get approvals and stuff, but from start to completion, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
You mean once it's been approved by the planning board, the site plan level? How long will the construction take place?
Yeah, I know it's a big question, but yeah, when are they going to start building? When do we actually foresee this being complete and a lovely destination?
Well, that is, Robert, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. So I'll just jump in and say Gerhardt Place is a beautiful development. It was developed, I believe, by one of the partners in this development. So we're here to make Morris beautiful. But we have already commenced site work here. So if you drove by the site, you'll see that the site is level. A lot of the utility work has gone in, such as drainage and so on and so forth. So the goal is to be able to get through these the re-amended site plan and the planning board in time to get the footings and foundations in, hopefully before winter hits, even though it's going to be challenging. That way we can go straight to our footings and foundations and vertically. I would say that towards the end of next summer, probably the fourth quarter of next year, you will be seeing businesses open here.
Okay.
So thank
Does
you.
that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Okay, I'm going to move on to Pauline.
Pauline, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you tell us where you live? Your
Yes,
address?
I live on Hanover Avenue, and let me just say, that all looks beautiful, but because I live on Hanover and there's not many people here on Hanover, we don't really feel like we get a voice to say what's going on, because in the mornings when I go out for a walk, it takes me a good 5 to 10 minutes to cross the street because of all the traffic. And this is like at 7 in the morning. So I can't even imagine the amount of traffic that's gonna come along with all these other places being opened. And I'm trying to figure out, we're gonna put another supermarket across from ShopRite. We have 2 supermarkets on this street and Walmart around the corner. I feel like that's an overkill. So here we are getting more people coming in. Yes, beautiful sight, but I feel like in this neighborhood, we get the crumbs. We get the crappy stuff to have all the transient people, other people come through here and they go home to their fabulous neighborhoods. Like, none of you guys live over here. None of you. So, of course, this would be nothing to you. But for me, it affects me every day. Not even on the weekends is it a breeze to say, okay, you know what? I can walk the neighborhood. It's not safe. I still can't get across the street. I can get across probably a few minutes easier, quicker, but it's still a lot of traffic because people speed down the street because they think it's a highway. There's no walkway for me to go across. That's my statement.
Thank you. One suggestion I have for you, Pauline, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Pauline, I strongly suggest that you come to the site plan meetings with the planning board, because that's where they will deal with the details of circulation and traffic. And you have a lot of firsthand experience there to bring to the table, and that should be heard. So I do encourage you to do that and follow that and sign up to get the agendas of the planning board meetings and attend those meetings. And they will be offered by Zoom, so you should be able to attend by Zoom as well.
And Mayor, can we get clarification from Pauline? Exactly what street are you trying to cross, Pauline, in the morning when you say you can't cross?
I'm on East Hanover Avenue. I live on East Hanover Avenue. So I'm trying to cross East Hanover Avenue to get to the sidewalk so I can walk the neighborhood to get my morning walk in.
So you're going across Hanover, not across MLK.
No.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, it's great that I can attend the meetings, but for them to take one person in consideration compared to the township itself, yeah, I don't see that happening, but I will do my best.
You should attend, and your neighbors should attend. Because
I can't
who live there
speak for them.
need to bring for discussion the the details that you're so fully aware of. And changes can be made, and accommodations can be made at the planning board level on those details. So your presence there is very important.
Okay.
Thanks, Pauline. I'm going to go to Brian.
Brian?
Hi, good afternoon, or good evening. This is
Yeah, Brian, would you tell us your address, please?
Yeah, I live on Highland Avenue.
Highland, 1 Highland.
Is this Brian Alexander?
Yeah, you got it,
Hi,
Kathy.
Brian.
All right, so I have a few questions. First question is, with the traffic that is going to be coming to this area due to the resident as well as the commercial, what is your plan to eliminate or reduce traffic on MLK? Because right now it's a parking lot with people trying to cross over to Speedwell, whether it be on Hanover or Corey. And how do you plan to eliminate that, I guess, the issue there with far as traffic is concerned? That's my first question. My second question is, currently cars cut through Highland to avoid the light on MLK. We have kids that live between between Cleveland and Eden, and we need to put some kind of speed bumps in here, because I would really hate for a child to be hit by a car because someone is cutting through trying to avoid the traffic light on Monroe in Hanover, as well as MLK in Hanover, and they come down the street doing 40 miles an hour like it's a raceway. So how is that going to be corrected as well once all this construction is complete?
Right. The circulation and traffic will work as part of this plan, and connecting with MLK is very much part of what will be addressed in detail at the site plan level by the planning board. And I would make the same recommendation to you to be sure to show up at those planning board meetings and bring your thoughts to the table so that they can be addressed as part of the details of the circulation plan that are developed at the site plan level. I agree with you. The traffic on MLK is concerning, and how will the traffic from the plaza interface with MLK? That is a question that needs consideration and development at the site plan level.
Thank you. I have one more comment I want to make as well, if I can, real quick. I know you mentioned some of the commercial property that was coming proposed currently. Is there a possible way that we could put an ice cream parlor like a Dairy Queen over there as well? Because that would be a great asset. Have people that live in this area be able to walk to get ice cream to avoid either going to Morris Plains or Friendly's or uptown the Green to Cold Stone or the Creamery. Having one there, I think, would be a big moneymaker for this area.
Thank you. I have brought that up. Robert, do you have any comment on that?
It's definitely a great idea. We love to hear from the residents' inputs on any businesses they'd like to see in the neighborhood. We will absolutely aggressively try and get an ice cream parlor, whether it be a Dairy Queen or another one, into the center.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Brian.
One other thing, Jim Slade here, the Morris Township engineer. I would just like residents to know, because I saw there were some other questions, that were raised, or some questions that are written in. The developer did do a detailed traffic study, that is available for the public to view. And, what the developer did look at is the traffic that was on the existing Colgate and Menon site when that was in operation. That's what they typically compare it with. They look at levels of service at the intersections. The Hanover is obviously a county roadway. The county looks at that, and there was a significant amount of traffic that was generated, by the site. They did operate shift work, and that was something that the planning board did look at as part of the 2018 approval. Just to make sure that, we're not, aggravating things along that Hanover Avenue corridor. And part of the comparison that they did was the traffic. And that's part of their right as a property owner to look at that traffic that's generated from the site. And it was something that the planning board delved into pretty heavily as part of the 2018 approval. So the next item that I see, the next person I see is Keith G.
Keith? Are you there?
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you
Great.
tell us your address, please, Keith?
Yeah, sure. I live on Colgate Drive, actually right in one of the new condos right behind the commercial we're talking about.
Welcome to Morris Township.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Quick question. I was a little confused. Do we technically live in Morris Township or Morris Town? I heard that our community is kind of split in half.
I'm so glad you asked that question. It's Morris Township.
Is every unit in the community Morris Township as well?
Yes.
I believe it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, the line between Morristown is close, but all of these residences are in Morris Township.
There will be a section in Morristown that's at the very, very end of the property. I believe it's going to be apartments, but it's at the far end by Quarry Road that has not yet gone under construction.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that, but there is going to be in the future a set of apartments that will be part of Morristown, but everything that's part of this development is Morris Township.
Awesome.
And could I jump in also just for clarification? We do share a post office with Morristown, so everybody has the same zip code and everybody has a Morristown post office address. But they are two towns, and Morris Township is called what they call in New Jersey a donut town. It actually surrounds Morristown completely. So Morristown only touches Morris Township, but Morris Township touches 13 other municipalities around it. So you are in Morris Township, and right across the street where ShopRite is called Hanover.
Right,
Good to know.
very, very New Jersey-like.
Yeah.
So the sign actually should say, to be accurate, the collection at Morris Township.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Keith, this is Nick. Robert has his plan up, and if you can see where his pointer is, that is the dividing line between Morris Township and Morristown. They are considering some townhouses in Morristown, but no application has been filed yet.
All right.
Hey, was that your question, Keith, or what did?
No, that actually wasn't my question. I have a few questions written down. One of them just got previously answered, just regarding being a resident here. A concern is obviously the traffic patterns, being able to get in and out of the neighborhood fairly easy. We understand there's going to be a lot more, cars and traffic in the area. So just want to make sure it's well thought out for all the residents that, they can get to and from their house fairly easily. Obviously, Hanover is a busy street, and MLK is pretty busy as well, but just make sure that either traffic lights or whatever you guys have put thought and planning into it, that the residents are going to be taken care of with the influx of traffic. So that's the first question, if you will, but it sounds like that was addressed in the last question. My question is that our properties, actually, if you see that basin, where there used to be a parking lot, and now it looks like we're excited there's going to be a new park built right in that area right there. So that's great. What we want to know is if there's going to be any additional, like either fence or barrier, or what's going to really be separating the commercial from the residential.
I believe the berm is the point of separation. Is that correct? Mr. Slade, I think, would.
That is correct. The berm and there is obviously landscaping on the berm, but no fence is proposed. It's essentially, I think it's constructed in that area, but I'd have to get back out there. I mean, you'd be more familiar with it.
Yeah, we would just want to know, obviously, if there's now a park technically behind our unit, and people from all over might be coming to that park, if there can be anything additional proposed to kind of separate that from the residential neighborhood.
There's no direct connection, so the landscape berm, essentially remains as the buffer.
All right, and do you guys have any, I don't know if this is you or Lennar, regarding that basin, the water basin right there?
Yes, what about it?
I guess just specifically, if there's going to be any sort of shrubbery or landscaping, or really what it's actually going to look like once it's finalized.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So right now it serves as what's known as a sedimentation basin that while it's under construction, it collects sediment and that would be removed, but the area will be grass. I'd have to take a look at the landscaping plan. There could be some landscaping, but generally for the most part, it would have a grass bottom.
And Jim, if you could, and Jim, also, if you could weigh in, that detention basin really isn't going to be filled with water much of the time. It's really there for overflow in a heavy storm. Is that correct?
That's correct. During storm events, water would be in the basin, but generally that drains within 24 to 48 hours.
Right. So it'll be an empty basin probably 360 days out of the year, I would guess.
And
Okay.
even the term, and Mr. Grazel, even the term, and Jim, you can talk better about this, even the term basin, it's really sort of like a sloping grassy area for most of the time, as you say. It's called a basin because that's the technical engineering term, but it's really grass for most of the time.
Does that answer your question, Keith?
Yeah, it does. Just obviously want to make sure it's somewhat visually appealing for those
Sure.
days. If there's not going to be water in it, which I was under the impression there was, just to make sure obviously it looks appealing for me as a resident and the residents in the neighborhood that have that in their backyard. Make sure it's taken care of.
Okay. The same encouragement. I would encourage you to come to the planning board meetings so you can see the development of the details for yourself, if you're interested.
Any other questions, Keith?
Nope, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, so next looks like a G, and I apologize if I'm butchering your last name, but Boryani.
G,
All right. Yes, Peter.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Is your name, what is your name and address, please?
My name is Gonzalo. And the last name, you said it right, is Boryani?
I couldn't hear your first name. Could you repeat that again, please?
Yes. So let me get out of speaker. Give me 1 second. So in that way, I have a better communication. So my name is, first name is Gonzalo. My last name is Boryani.
And your address?
I live here on Colgate, 26 Colgate Drive. So I'm one of the new residents of the collection.
Great.
So, I mean, to be quite honest, I think like, the majority of the questions being asked already and answered. I'm a new resident for Morris Township. I cannot share, the excitement that me and my family we have to, finally have moved up to this area. We come in more from the North Bergen, Fairview, Edgewater area near New York. So you can, obviously, people who has been there could know the different lifestyle they were looking for, and I think we finally found it here. So that first and foremost. One of the things that we like to say is then, definitely we understand the concern when people mention the traffic that is going to be added to the area. Now, understanding where we're coming from, you could tell them, this is quite doesn't feel traffic for us. It actually feels pretty calm. I agree, I tend to agree with, the fact that, Martin Luther King and East Hanover are high traffic areas. I personally think that the plaza itself is going to bring life to the town. I don't think it's going to add much more traffic. I think the traffic is already there. If anything, is going to create just another destination for people.
Thank you.
Okay, now bring it to the concern that I believe Keith mentioned before. I do think the natural separation between the collection community building and what is being created on the other side is missing something. I know then the current plans are, being made to create a natural separation. I believe it may be some forms of like non-invasive, way of creating some extra additional separation, especially if they plan to create a little stage where people is going to be hanging out and kind of performing and things of that nature. I believe, without disrupting the appearance and the look of what we're trying to achieve here, it could be some kind of like separation between which is the community and the plaza. It's just for the fact that many of our backyards are facing pretty much the plaza and somehow. And we, I feel some of the neighbors will feel then a little exposed at this point because, the patio, the open patio that we all share is pretty much open to the plaza. If anybody goes up and down that hill, then it's going to be created separating the two areas. They pretty much are walking to your backyard. So, I think it's something to consider. That's number one. Number two, I have seen some really nice development by my previous town, and everything looks really beautiful. One of the only big concerns I have is if they have pay attention and give extended thought to the garbage collection and disposable areas for these major stores. I mean, we're talking if you want to be adding somewhere around 15 to 20, retail areas, the amount of cardboard, disposals, garbage that these businesses want to be collecting is want to kind of like be good enough. And I'm assuming looking the design of these plans, it looks like majority of those areas they want to be facing actually the collection community. So, I think it would not be a good impression, get out to your backyard or your deck, in any given weekend and see just a bunch of cardboard and garbage accumulating, facing your patio. And that's pretty much all, my two questions.
Okay, thank you. So let me just clarify a few things here. You're wanting to have additional separation between the collection residents and the retail. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think I really like the design as it is, but I think it could be something else. Then it maybe doesn't show, like some kind of open fence or mesh or something, then, doesn't disrupt the look that is being tried to be achieved here. But they also give a peace of mind to, this entire community.
Okay.
I'm totally pro business. I love the concept. I'm gonna be honest. One of the things that motivate us to move to this direction is because we already have experience on the Edgewater and West New York area. A growing community like this, and it has done all the. Yes, it add a little bit of extra traffic, but once again, I think the traffic is already there, already exists. But I think it has been super positive. For real estate purpose, I think it has bring more value to the town, and it creates a full experience for your family. You pretty much could just walk around without have to commute too much.
Okay. Yeah, we like the ability to walk around too, the pedestrian access and the walkability. That's good. I think your comment about trying to improve the sort of visual separation between the residents and the retail is something to think about. So is that it, Gonzalo?
Yeah, it was that, and what is the planning and the thought on the garbage and disposals for all these stores?
Can you comment on that, Robert?
Sure. So first of all, just Gonzalo, towards about your comment about the seeing the rear, the berm that's there right now. If you're walking along the rear residential, you will not be able to see the retail. That's how the berm was designed. Now, if you're on your patio, then you're much higher up and you're looking down. I don't know if we could get anything, even a fence, for example, that would shield your view from the commercial. It would probably have to be about 60 feet high. So,
I'm okay. I'm okay with the view. I mean, I knew from the beginning that it would be there. It's more, the concern is more about not the view, it's about the safety.
Understood. And just towards your comment about the trash. So each building has its own trash area. So for example, building E over here, you'll see over here has 2 trash containers. And I do apologize for not introducing him earlier, but I do have my engineer, Anad, on the call. And he did design the entire site, including the townhomes in the back. So Anad, feel free to chime in if you'd like. But we have trash over here in the rear, trash over here in the rear, trash over here in the rear, and trash right over there in the rear as well. So every building does have its own trash and compactors. So you won't be seeing any cardboard or anything outside.
And those compactors and units are going to be, I'm assuming, surrounded by some type of fence or something that is going to kind of hide it and is no one that should show and be exposed.
Yes,
right?
They will be screened in. That's why I switched to the black and white view so you can see it. When you go back to the color, you probably can't even like see them. You see right there in the Panera, right there, that's the trash enclosure, but you see that there's landscaping around it. Oop, there you go. I zoomed all the way in. I apologize for the lag on my computer. But yes, so you won't be seeing the trash. In all our leases, we have it that, you know, the tenant is responsible for private garbage pickup. We're not relying on the township services, and everything has to be maintained in a first-class manner. So you'll never see a Panera Bread, for example, that has trash around it. You just won't see it.
And each dumpster, Jim Slater, each dumpster will have an enclosure, you know, and where we can do some landscaping around it, there will also be landscaping.
Okay. No, I mean, that definitely answer my question. I kind of thought that would go in that direction. And like I say, I love the concept overall. Me and my family are totally pro what is coming to town, and we're excited about it. We can't wait to experience, you know, to actually have the full experience. We would like to, you know, after have talked to some of our neighbors, I think we would like to revise the idea of create some kind of, you know, like invisible fence or a mesh or something that is want to give the community a little more sense of security.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Like to go on to Louisa Surma.
Louisa, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Louisa. Can you
hi.
tell us your address?
Yes, I'm on Cleveland Avenue.
Okay. Welcome.
So I can walk to this development. And I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I just want to echo what Pauline was saying earlier, as well as Brian. Like, my biggest concern is the traffic. I have 2 dogs that I refuse to walk on Cleveland, on Highland, on East Hanover, on MLK, just because of the traffic. My husband and I have lived here for 7 years now, and I know you conduct studies and whatnot, but I live and breathe the traffic and living here every day, so I see it every day. And yeah, that's just my biggest concern is, you know, I'm all about green space. I would have loved if this entire development was a big piece of park, really, for kids and things like that. I'm a former educator, so that's really where my heart is, but I know that parks cost taxpayer dollars. They don't make taxpayer dollars. So I get it, but I'm just concerned, you know, again, just to echo Pauline's statement earlier, we have a ShopRite, we have a development right across from that. So right now, I'm just surrounded by one piece of commercial development over and over again. So I'm just, I'm not for this plan, but it's probably going to happen, but I'm not for it. So there's not really a question in there since the traffic sort of was addressed, but I just wanted to, again, voice my concerns.
I appreciate you showing up and speaking up and sharing your views.
Yeah, thank you.
Continue to do that.
Next up is Violet Forbes.
Violet, are you there?
Yes, Violet is here.
Violet, can you tell us your address?
42 Highland Avenue.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been living here for 30-something years, and I'm worried about the traffic like the other residents said. Some of them is my neighbor that live around here, and I go for a walk in my little community, and I've seen it like never before. Even 2 days ago, I'm on my porch, and I'm seeing a car just make a U-turn right in front of me because they're trying to, you know, shortcuts. A U-turn right there in front of me. You know where that stop sign is, right there. And we have children, we have people walking with their dogs around here, and you just make a fast U-turn. I've seen it all the time because I'm home and I'm outside and I've seen it. And then right in front of my house, my steps, is a dead end that goes to Hanover Avenue, which is now a dead end from ever since. And people is just driving past there because they don't know it's a dead end, trying to take shortcuts because of traffic. So I'm kind of
Did you
really.
say trucks? Is that what you were talking about, Violet, here?
Pardon me?
I couldn't hear your last sentence. Were you talking about?
I said there's a dead end, Cedar. It's a dead end that drive past right in front of my house to Hanover Avenue. It's a dead end.
Yes.
traffickers don't know that. So because they're looking for shortcuts, it's like it's a whole different thing around here with traffic. People trying to look for shortcuts and they come to a dead end, and it's, you know, they don't know that because of all the traffic that is happening now.
Yes. Okay.
So
Yes.
that is my concern.
Your biggest concern is the traffic.
Yeah. And the way they drive past here is like, the way they drive past around here, even though there's stop signs and I think 25 miles or whatever, they just drive past here.
Yes. Okay. I thank you for sharing your thoughts, and the same advice I'm giving to everyone. Make sure you show up at the planning board where all of these traffic details are discussed in a lot more depth. Did you hear that, Violet?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I definitely encourage you to do that.
Next up is Solomon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Mayor, could I jump in for a second?
Sure,
So
please do.
I just want to let the residents on Highland and the rest of Collinsville
Hello?
know that traffic.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, this is Deputy Mayor Jeff Grazel. I want the residents to know that the residents on Highland and throughout Collinsville to know that the traffic and cut-throughs are they're on our radar. They're a very important issue for us. We understand the pressures that are in your neighborhood now with what might be coming with the development. And we're going to be looking at that very hard at the planning board level when we have the traffic engineer in front of us. Also to the prior caller who was on Cleveland, I just want to let her know that the park that used to be on the corner has been relocated. So there is going to be a park behind the residential complex, sort of behind the complex and behind Menon Arena. So the park just got relocated, but there is a park that is part of that complex. And there is a walking path that is going to go behind the residential building that's going to be connecting to that park. So there is a park that's part of this that's different than the little pocket park. And there is a walking path that's going to connect to it. So there is a little bit of walkability to get to a park if that's what you so desire. Just want to make sure that's clear because we haven't talked about that corner park that disappeared.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Solomon, you're up.
Solomon, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Could you
Okay,
say your
great.
name and address?
Yes, my name is Vanetta Solomon, and I'm here on behalf and with my mother, Elnora Solomon, resident of 38 Highland Avenue for over 30 years, nearly 40 years.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Okay, so I'm really appreciative of the extra care that was put into making the improvements and the walkability and adding more green space, and also being more cognizant of bringing in tenants that are going to be able to appeal to wider broad of a demographic. I appreciate that. And my concerns are similar to what's already been voiced, which is about traffic. But then I also have a few other concerns. So my main concerns are about the traffic flow through Collinsville, especially Highland Avenue, also with lights, the placement of the drive-through, especially the Panda Express, and then also with safety. So first I'll speak to the traffic. As I can see, if you're traveling eastbound on Hanover Avenue, and that last entrance into the complex before Martin Luther King, that area there has like a buttress. So therefore, people cannot make a left traveling westbound on Hanover Avenue, which makes sense, it's very near the traffic light. What I would like to see is that same concept applied to Martin Luther King Avenue. So whereas if you're traveling what would be, I guess, southbound on Martin Luther King, then you could only enter into the complex or you could exit from the complex, also traveling southbound. But you would not be able to make a left from Martin Luther King if you're traveling north. You would not be able to also cross into Highland Avenue or from Highland Avenue because of the simple way that the curb would be formed, limiting traffic, cross traffic, or left turns there. So I'd really like to see that applied there. Also, as far as the traffic, a couple of people have mentioned that, you know, they do see a lot of traffic, and of course we're going to see that as there's more commercial development. And just as the resident on Cleveland Avenue spoke about the fact that, you know, she's not comfortable even walking her dogs, and I believe it was Ms. Drury that mentioned about walking. That takes me then to my next concern with the safety. So if we want to continue to feel safe where we can go out and we can walk, then that means that we don't want a lot of activity, especially drive-through activity, late into the evening. So whereas ShopRite, I believe the latest it's open is 9 or 10 o'clock. But then of course that's not a drive-through. Whereas Panda Express would be a drive-through. And I believe in Union, it's open to as late as even 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And the proposal is for Panda Express to be closest to the residential area, right across from several homes there at the corner of Martin Luther King. I think that if that's going to be brought in, it should be placed further into the complex, away from the residential area. Or I think that it should be limited to the hours, perhaps maybe not after 9 o'clock at night. So that brings also my concern with lighting. If there's going to be a drive-through at the end there, and there's going to be, I guess, the township is going to make that permission in order for there to be a drive-through within, say, what is that? That's not even 50 yards from someone's front door. Then that sets a precedent for the rest of the township. So I really don't like that there. I'd rather it be either moved into, deeper into the complex to the other side, where I think what's proposed is the bank pad over there, or for it to be limited to its hours. And then also with the walkability part, I do see that there are pathways all the way around, which I think is great. But there isn't a continuous pathway all the way around the outer edge of the perimeter of the complex. So for instance, if I were to walk off of Highland Avenue and cross the street and walk along, I guess, that first water area, overflow area, then once I get all the way over to what is Menon Drive, then I'm kind of forced to walk past the new Liddell store versus being able to then continue along the outer perimeter and then up to Hanover Avenue to make the right. Exactly, yes, you're exactly where I'm at. So therefore, it seems to me like it's missing right there between the two driveways of the residential to Colgate, or I think that is, that needs to be a walkway around there. And then just to be, aware that if the intent is for the Collinsville residents to use this more, maybe to come over and get a smoothie or a sandwich, that therefore that pedestrian area across from Highland Avenue would be where we would most likely walk. And that would need to be a pedestrian light or something there to make that safe. And then finally, I think I have one other, the use of the pocket park. The pocket park is really nice. I just don't see any shaded area. I know that usually trees are added and they look great, but usually they're immature trees before they actually, are able to offer any shade. So I was wondering if any type of shade feature was going to be added to that. And I guess that's really about it. Again, my main concern is the traffic flow. trying to protect Collinsville residents and Highland Avenue, especially from any cross traffic. And then also from any increase of traffic and increased use of the area for a drive-through, especially late at night and so very close to the residences. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you. These are a lot of good suggestions. Let me ask, I'm not sure if that would be Robert, perhaps, to comment on a few of these. The hours, is that determined at the site plan level? The hours of businesses, or is that
I would say
determined as part of the redevelopment plan?
I was going to say that I think all those issues are items to be discussed, with the planning board at the site plan level. Where we're talking about traffic and configuration of traffic and traffic movements, hours of operation, the sidewalk link. There is a link that goes around. You do have to come over to the building, but there is a continuous loop around the site. But I think those, all those items are, the type of items that will be discussed at the site plan with the planning board.
Yeah, and I would, and Mayor, just because you asked for I would agree with Jim with everything you just said. I just wanted to point out that the walkability does link the entire site.
That's what I thought.
It doesn't link the back because nobody wants to walk in loading areas, but along the front, it does link the entire site. Links over here, which leads into the berm, goes all around the building, continues through here, links to the plaza, links to the pocket park, continues going up and around and down as well. So it does link the entire site. And just regarding hours of operation, we're not proposing any 24-hour operations, and we're not asking for anything that's not permitted currently by the township regarding business hours.
Can you comment on what hours you would anticipate at this point?
I just Googled as Bernadette was making her comment, and it seems that every every Panda Express closes at 9 p.m. The one in Brooklyn actually closes at 7 p.m. Just because she brought that one up, but we're not asking for, I can tell you that we're not asking for 24-hour operation here.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon. Next
And
up.
Robert, hold on, Robert. Also, there's a sidewalk along Hanover Avenue also, isn't there? So
That's
not just
correct.
internally.
All along here, there's a sidewalk all along Hanover Avenue. And it takes you, it sneaks in right here. That connects across either way to D and along E to get to the plazas and the park, and as well along Commercial C, which will take you to the back along here and along here.
Right, so you could walk through the development and then walk out to Hanover, come back east, and then walk up MLK all on a sidewalk, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Jerry and Rena.
Jerry? Is it Jerry?
Can you hear us okay?
Yes, Jerry. If you could tell us your name and the address.
Sure. This is actually Rena, his wife, and we live at 20 Gerhard Place. And actually my mother, who's not on this call, purchased at 10 Gerhard Place. So you have two families on the same street.
And say your first name one more time.
Sure. My first name is Rena. It's R-E-E-N-A. And then I have my husband here, Jerry, J-E-R-R-Y.
Okay, thank you. And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the first thing we'd like to say is thank you for the thoughtfulness and the redevelopment. We have been concerned. We were one of the first people to move in here, both ourselves and my mother at 10 Gerhard. And we're very much looking forward to being able to walk to commercial space. In fact, that was one of the main drivers in us moving here. We lived in Manhattan, then we lived up by Nyack in Rockland County, and then we were renting in Signature Place, also in Morris Plains, and we loved the area so much. And we did our grocery shopping at the ShopRite over here. And so we thought when we saw the sign up, we were so excited to be able to move to this area. We absolutely love it. So again, thank you again for your reconsideration of the way you're going to develop the area. We're very excited at the greenery that's being added to it. With that being said, we are also going to echo the concerns. I can't remember the gentleman's name that spoke up that moved here with his son from Edgewater area. We were thrilled about the park area. We do have, the way that our property is situated is we, from our patio area, we wouldn't be able to see, you know, the space that's being developed behind us. But when we are on our deck, we would be able to see it, which is okay, except that the location where we are, it looks like that's where we're going to have this the swim facility that looks amazing. But we are going to see that, and we see that the loading area is there. So of course that is going to be next to the grocery store, which, you know, the beeping of the loading and the backing up of the trucks, and we don't know what the, you know, the garbage situation is going to look like. Those are some of the things we kind of had an idea that we needed to consider when we moved here. However, we have noticed that the way that the planting was done behind us, is the trees are small. They're very far from being close to being mature, and they're sparse. So, you know, that presents two challenges for us. One, just from the way that aesthetic value, we think that we could have, we're not looking for like a, you know, a 20-foot fence or anything like that looks strange, but we think it could contribute to the overall look of what you're already doing in terms of the development, to add a little bit more maybe greenery, so natural separation between what is our backyard and what would be this developed area. So we would look for a little bit more just in terms of the aesthetic value, but also in terms of the safety. We love the idea of the park area and creating a great space for not just Morris, you know, Plains or Morristown residents, but for people to come from all over. But that does bring in, you know, a safety factor. So having a little bit more of a separation, again, we're okay with it being more of a natural separation than a big, you know, big ugly fence. But that is something that we're concerned about, that lighting factor, and also having something to separate. And then just to echo the sentiments of one of the gentlemen that spoke earlier, in terms of what you're bringing into the retail area, we love the idea of like an ice cream store, something that's going to bring, you know, just like more of a community. Yep. So we love that. We probably won't be in, everybody probably won't be in agreement with us. We're looking for like more like a local style kind of restaurant. And, you know, in this day and age, I don't know if that's going to happen. We were kind of hoping that it wasn't just going to be, you know, your Paneras or your Panda Expresses, but something a little bit more authentic and you know, more mom and pop. But we understand the environment we're living in right now. Maybe not a lot of those types of, you know, places are not going to be able to, you know, come up here, but we are really looking to hopefully foster more of a neighborhood environment here and make it less kind of corporate looking.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate those comments.
Thank you.
And we hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to comment on that, Robert?
Yes, I do want to comment on that. So Rena, thank you for your comments. And I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of meeting with the neighbors that live along the rear to kind of see what they envision. We're a little limited to what we can do because a lot of the plantings and the seedings are done by Lennar because it's on their lot, not on ours. But I wouldn't be opposed to you know, having an informal meeting so we can get some feedback and maybe there is something that we can accommodate. And then just regarding the comment about the ice cream store and the local flavor, and the deputy mayor had the same comment that we should perhaps try to create a food hall type area. Food hall is not a good word because during COVID, it's not something that people want to hear, but the
plaza, a food plaza on the plaza.
All right, along the plaza, either over here or over here, we're absolutely going to try and get some local restaurants to feed into that area and open up on both sides of it. I already instructed my leasing team to come up with some designs for that and some concepts. We did start reaching out to local restaurants that we believe may be in need of relocation, or, you know, and that is certainly something that we consider. If there's anybody that wants to open a business here, you'll be able to find me, and please reach out to me with any recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I especially love your idea of your offer to meet with the residents who back up to it and talk in a little more detail with them about what they'd like to see.
Yeah,
It's a great
absolutely.
idea.
And if, Mayor, if I could, just to Rena, that's one of the things we've been thinking about, is on those pedestrian plazas to have inward facing restaurants, not just restaurants that face the front, but create a place where residents can go and mill about and have outdoor dining on a beautiful plaza with a fountain in the middle, something like that does create more of a neighborhood feel. That is something we're after. And Robert, like I said before, has been very good at working with us to achieve a mutual vision and make this a really beautiful place for the neighborhood.
We really love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up I see is Denise Cuneo.
Denise, are you there? Denise? She muted?
She's getting a promotion. Denise, I just did an upgrade on your.
There we go. There we go. Hello?
Yeah, Denise?
Yes.
Can you tell us your name and your address, please?
Yes, it's Denise Cornejo. I'm at 22 Corey Road.
Thank you.
I actually have two things, actually. One, and I know everybody's brought it up, but again, the traffic, for me, it's a major concern. It's actually been a growing issue over the years. This is just something that's just increasing it. Not so much for me at East Hanover and Martin Luther King. It's what it's pushing back into the community. The faster traffic, the cars are flying through, it's the cut-throughs, it's the U-turns, it's the people taking the shortcuts. So more so than the built-up traffic at the intersection, it's what's cutting through the community. That's really the bigger concern. It's getting so much worse than it's been before over the years. That's really the bigger concern with the traffic.
Yes.
Maybe traffic lights may be built in. We don't have any at all. So that's really where the bigger concern is with the traffic.
Yeah.
My other big concern is, since we've had ShopRite here, we continuously have shopping carts left all over the place, grocery bags thrown all over. There's a lot of trash and over from ShopRite that are appearing now on our lawns in the street. So I obviously have a concern now if there's going to be, fast food restaurants, things along those lines. That's going to start winding up now on our side streets, in our lawns. Is there going to be something done, I guess, more along the lines of trash cans, or is there going to be some responsibility along the lines of that placed on maybe the owners of these places? I mean, I know that's hard to take responsibility for, but maybe something along the lines of more trash cans along the way. We don't have any along Martin Luther King, along any of the residential streets, because that is all in our streets right now. And that's just ShopRite. That's a grocery store. I know
That's a good point. I've heard that point raised before. And do we have any, the township, do we have any, we could put cans there, could we not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We will look into that at the township end. I've heard that brought up before with the presence of ShopRite. And so we'll take a look at that and let you know.
Okay.
What was your last name, Denise? I didn't get it written down.
It's Cornejo.
Oh, okay, there we are. Okay, great. I like your suggestion, and we are going to look into that. Is there anything else?
No, nothing that hasn't been brought up.
I know. Clearly, traffic is the major concern.
Huge.
It is. I agree.
All right, thank you. Charlene Anderson, next up.
Charlene, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, Charlene. If you could say your name and address, please.
Charlene Anderson, 7 Emmett Avenue, third generation township resident. I vote for the ice cream, first of all, but I am also, my primary concern is traffic. Emmett, I guess most of you know, it connects Martin Luther King and Speedwell. And they just zoom back and forth. Not so much now with, you know, of course, with the pandemic, but it's an awful lot of traffic. And when it's not rush hour, they are zooming. And I also want to know, is it on your list of things to do to survey the traffic at that intersection, Emmett and MLK? Because I say, laughingly say, I'll live to see a traffic light there. That's
Has
it.
there been any referral for a traffic study there at Emmett and MLK?
For the traffic study, Jim?
No, I think that's outside, you know, of the limit.
Other has not made.
So that is something that we can look into, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Charlene, I've heard that one brought up before as well, and we're putting that on the list of things to look into.
Okay.
For a traffic study.
Right.
And
Traffic study.
That's challenging to cross as a pedestrian.
It is.
We will look into that.
Okay,
And,
thank you so much.
Okay.
And if I,
Go ahead, Jeff.
if I could jump in, since a couple people have mentioned traffic and we have a lot of newcomers to the area, a big issue with the traffic along Hanover Avenue is a choke point that's further west at the corner of Hanover and Speedwell, which backs up traffic. And that's why we see a lot of people cutting down Corey Road. We are constantly in touch with the state of New Jersey that controls Speedwell Avenue, which is State Route 202. It's a state road, and so thus they control the intersection. We're constantly in touch with them about upgrading that intersection to improve the traffic flow, because if traffic flow were improved there, then there'd be less cut through traffic everywhere else, because people could get down Hanover much more easily. So we realize that that intersection further down Hanover is one of the reasons that causes the cut through. And we are consistently trying to get New Jersey to do something about that intersection. I know Jim Slates can tell you he's probably been working on it for years, but we haven't had any movement, but we're going to keep on it. But just everybody knows we're aware of the issue and we're trying to rectify it.
We are aware of it, and it is a good example of how, especially in traffic, things connect with each other. What happens on one street connects with what happens on another. So it's challenging to fix everything, but it's definitely on our radar. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. Anything else?
That's it.
Thanks, Charlene.
Sure.
Next up is Gail Lowry Davis.
Gail, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay,
Can you
yeah.
say can you say your name and your address?
Yeah, Gail Lowry Davis. I'm at 18 Corey Road. And the points are well taken that have been brought up. I just am looking at the addition of possibly a health food store and possibly a more high-end restaurant where you can have jazz or some kind of music off of that little. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good suggestions. Thank you.
So
writing notes,
last
Robert.
one I see is Roseanne Donahue again.
Roseanne, are you there?
She may have just left her hand up.
Yeah, she did ask a question before. So
that was by accident?
She was the first one, I believe.
Okay.
I do note that there's some other, questions. People are able to type questions in. There's a question from Julie Winter. It just says, can you re-summarize the definite tenants and the hopeful planned tenants? Robert, do you just want to run through them?
Sure. So starting from here, this is We are converting that bank pad into a drive-through. We're working with the township on it. We'd like to propose a Taco Bell over there, but that's still up in the air. It can also be a Habit Burger Grill. That's going to be a Lidl, the German grocery store. That is going to be the Aquatots swim school that I had mentioned. There's some strong interest in the other side of that. It's a little premature right now. I'd mentioned it to the township. It's, I guess, a quasi fast casual clothing store, I guess is the best way to describe it. We'll see where that goes. Within building F, with no specific placements, we have Bubba Coos Burritos, Red Wing Shoes, Pet Care Company that does doggy daycare. Moving along to building E, we have in this space over here, the Icebox Cryotherapy, along with the, I'm drawing a blank on the, sorry, on the gym, the small gym.
Orange Theory.
I'm sorry.
Orange Theory.
Yes, Orange Theory and Icebox are taking that. Over here, we have One River Art School, which is a really cool art school concept. Over here, we have U-Break iFix, that company that if you, like, I don't know about you guys, but I drop my phone multiple times a day and my laptops, they fix phone screens. Great spot to have in a center. That's going to be the Panera Bread, as we discussed. In here, we have a Jersey Mike's, and that is still available. We're trying to create the food hall concept over here. So we're trying to get Bubba Coos Burritos, who's going over here, to come over here. We also have, speaking to the local flavor, we have a Pancake House, which is in Whippany. They may be moving here or opening a second location to add something to that. Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Sleep Number Mattress Store, as well as Salad Works may come here. That depends on the Panera. So that's a lot of good food uses here that we're trying to kind of shift around to make them open up to there. And then in this building over here, we have a Wells Fargo Bank and a Panda Express.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question because we did, you did include a few more compared to what you said.
Yeah, I apologize. My memory is not what it once was.
Pardon?
I said, I apologize. My memory is not what it once was. So every time I think about it, I do have a couple more. We are about, give or take 140,000 square feet here. And we have about 70% of it leased, I would say, or under, real LOIs that are going to go to lease. So we're about 80,000 square feet leased here. So it's a significant amount of space.
Yeah.
So just going through some of the other questions, Keith G asked if it's a Panda or Panda Express. I believe you just answered that. It is a Panda Express. Another question from an anonymous attendee is, will there be any spas, hair salons, nail salons, etc.? Things besides eat. Definitely would like a restaurant. Robert, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, so we actually, we had a deal with Sola Salon, who actually ended up moving across the street because this kind of got dragged out a little bit with the RDP and everything that was going on. So they ended up opening across the street. But we do have a couple of nail salons that are interested, one of which would be one of their first locations in New Jersey called Prose, P-R-O-S-E, Prose Nail Salon. They're found typically in high-end malls, but they expressed an interest in opening over here as well. And hair salons, not yet, but maybe that'll be included in the Prose.
Great. Thank you. I can't see these written questions, so.
Another question from Jay Starburst. Maybe the plaza can have a speaker system on poles with music. I would just say that's an issue to be discussed at the site plan. There's another question from Annie. Will these be single-story buildings? The answer to that is yes. Question from Kim, is Township softball field being put back into this property? It is being put back, and it's proposed kind of behind the Menon complex, and it would be shared parking with Menon, which I consider an improvement just because we didn't have any parking when the field was located on MLK Avenue. Another question from Jay Starburst. Will the shopping mall have a security guard drive like the ShopRite side? Robert, is that a question you can answer?
That is definitely something that we're going to consider. I mean, I think that an area like Mars doesn't typically require security, but it's definitely something that we operate our malls in a first-class manner, and if it's necessary or requested, we will absolutely make sure that it's adhered to.
Question that was brought up previously, but Roseanne Donovan mentioned something about a fence along the outskirts of the residential property. There's a question again from an anonymous attendee. What is the community center that is going near the low-income housing? That's actually a, I'm drawing a blank. I want to say the, is it lupus?
Pillar, CPNJ?
Oh, it's a
CPNJ.
6-unit cerebral palsy
New Jersey.
housing at that location. Jay Starburst, is there going to be an AC Marriott going up? That's a no. As far as recreation, is baseball field being put back? That's from Jeannie Betty and Eugene McKay. Answered that, yes, it's going to go back in behind the Menon facility. Question from Roseanne again, will the new commercial property have more lights in the evening? My townhouse backs up to the grocery store. There will be lights in that parking lot, but that's more of a, I would say, a site plan issue if there's concern about lights or shielding and lighting spread. Some questions about, traffic. I think we've answered that stuff. So Louisa Surma asked a question. I can easily walk to this marketplace, so I'm concerned that I'm now surrounded by commercial real estate. Everything that has been proposed sounds exactly like it was across the street from ShopRite. There's a pet store, bagel shop. Not sure what makes this unique. Are there any plans to combat increased traffic? I do think we've answered some of that stuff, and if there's more concerns, I think that should be raised at the site plan issue.
I have the pocket park going in.
What was that?
The pocket park is going in as part of it, and then the pedestrian areas which aren't similar across the street.
Is that it?
And I do see one more question from a member of the public. It's Ray. Ray, you have a question?
Ray, are you there? Ray?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. If you can say your name and address, please.
Yes, so my name is Ray Falconer. I'm located at 64 Highland Avenue. I'm going back to the traffic. Obviously, that's the overwhelming concern here. But on Highland Avenue, I think the decision was made to paint the 25 miles an hour on the roadway at each end, which is totally ineffective because people just keep speeding down. Is this an opportunity to go back and revisit, put it in speed bump at this point, given the concerns?
What I would say to that, Ray, is bring your concerns to our Transportation Advisory Committee and we can discuss it further there. We have had a traffic study on that site and that's what came out of it. But I have heard many residents bring up additional questions that, in my opinion, are worthy of consideration and discussion by the Transportation Advisory Committee. And it does meet next Wednesday, the 12th. And I would invite you to go on the township's website, sign up. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and bring it up there. And the Transportation Advisory Committee will take that up. We have a couple of local issues that'll be on the agenda for next week.
Okay, thank you.
Have you heard of that before?
I've heard of it before, but so I will try and see if I can get there. But I just thought the question is a question that should be raised, given the many concerns that you've heard tonight regarding the traffic. It just seems that would be a no-brainer to me to do that. That would definitely ease some of our concern, especially folks that are on Highland Avenue with kids and so forth. That would definitely ease some of our concerns.
I hear that a lot. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I hope to talk with you further about it next Wednesday. and as well at the site plan on this plan.
Okay.
That
All right.
it?
Thank you.
you.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Is that it, Mr. Slade?
Yes.
Okay, is there anybody on the panel who has anything they'd like to add before we wrap up? No?
Right on time.
Yeah, I just, right, we're right on time. I'd like to thank everybody from the panel and the public for showing up tonight and contributing your ideas. It's, to me, a meeting like this is very helpful. It's different than the sort of legal meetings that are part of the legal process. We don't have the kind of time for the Q&A and the back and forth and showing the map and just all the discussion. To me, that's really valuable. And there's several things that came out of this meeting tonight that we will be following up on. So, and I'm especially liking the idea, as Robert brought up, about talking a little further with the residents who back up to that portion of the retail that there was concern about. So, and I hope that our purpose was fulfilled tonight. I hope everybody has a better understanding of, where a little bit of history about this site and where we're at and what the next steps are going forward. I strongly encourage everyone who's on this call to participate in these, the next steps, which will be the next step on the redevelopment plan will be the township committee meeting, introduction at the August 19th, probably second read at the September meeting. Following that, the site plan review at the planning board. So these are all important meetings. Your ideas are heard. Your ideas can be built in to the plans as they're finalized. And I thank everybody for participating tonight, and I hope to see you again in the future.
And Mayor, if I could?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Jeff.
Since we have a number of new residents on the call tonight, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that the municipal website is morristwp.com. So MORRISTWP.com. There's a lot of information there about the community. I urge everybody to click on the government tab on the upper left. And two things you can find there is your township committee, which is your governing body. So you can see the members on your governing body, and it has all of our email addresses. And the other thing you can find under the government tab is what we call the municipal messenger. It is an email that comes out with events and news about Morris Township. I recommend that everybody sign up for the municipal messenger. You'll get some very good information about all the different things that are going on in Morris Township, and it'll help you keep you up to date on the municipality. So those two things. And
Yes,
thanks again,
thank you,
everybody, for
Jeff.
joining.
Yes, thank you. And I'd also like to thank Robert and Nick for joining us. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this kind of conversation with you and with our residents, and to our professionals as well, Mr. Slade, Mr. Quinn,
Mr. Phillips.
and Mr. Phillips, who has disappeared from my screen, but I think you're probably still there. Thank you all. It's been very productive, and I appreciate your participation. So unless anybody has anything else, I think we'll say goodnight. That's
Good night.
it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Right on time.
Yep.